Hi there, I'm Chris Amico with Genesee Valley Physical Therapy. Today I'm going to be going over a golf warm-up for you. One of the reasons we do a golf warm-up is we want to prevent injury, but also try and optimize your movements so you can play the best round that you can. We're going to go over a few different dynamic movements, which are going to be a little bit more active, followed by some static or stretching movements. Again, we're going to try and focus on preventing injuries with this. If you have any questions, please reach out to one of the therapists. We can try and help you through it. I'm going to show you some beginner movements as well as some advanced movements, so pick the one that's best for you. Again, this isn't for everyone. Try and do the best you can, but reach out if you have any questions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a club. Doesn't matter which one it is, just something that you feel comfortable with holding. We're going to go about shoulder width apart with our feet and hold the club out in front of our chest. We're just going to work on rotating the hips from side to side, nice and easy. If you notice, I'm kind of picking up on my back foot similar to how I would on my golf swing. And my head and upper body are traveling with the club. I'm not going aggressive with this. I'm just nice and smooth. I'm going to do about 10 of these in each direction just to try and get the body warmed up before our next movement. Following that, we're going to go into a little bit of a staggered stance. So I'm going to show two different ways to do this. We're going to start with 1 foot forward and 1 foot back and the club out in front of you. We're going to lead onto that front foot and raise the club up over our head. Feel a good little stretch, hold for a couple seconds, and then glide back. We're gonna do about 5 of these on that front foot. Feeling like a good little stretch there before switching over to our opposite side. We wanna do everything with both sides as the golf swing has movements that pertain to both directions. So we don't wanna just focus on one. So this is kind of our beginner movement where we're just gently gliding. If we wanna get a little bit more advanced with it, we can step into it and raise that club up. If you can tell, like I'm really extending forward and then step back. So this one's a little bit more advanced. If you don't have good balance, I wouldn't recommend this one for you. And again, we're gonna look for about 5 or 6 of these on each leg so that we can stay even on both directions. After that one, we're gonna lead into a little bit of a rotation. So we're gonna go back to our staggered stance. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna glide forward while rotating onto that front foot. So if you notice, I'm turning towards my left and coming back. We're gonna rotate just gently. My head's following the traveling of the club and I'm keeping my upper body nice and tall. I'm not hunching down. We would do again 5 or 6 on the front leg before switching and doing the opposite leg. We're getting a little bit of a little rotation, following with our head and getting a nice smooth movement. If we wanna become advanced with this, we can step into it like our first one, where we step and rotate and then glide back. And again, we would look for 5 or 6 of these in each direction. So a couple on that leg, a couple on this leg. Just like the first one, if balance is an issue for you, I don't recommend this one. I recommend the first version of this. The next one we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our club up overhead and we're gonna work on stretching the hips out by going sideways and really kind of tilting at the thoracic region or our rib cage over here. So we're gonna hold this for about 5 or 6 seconds, then come back tall again and go in the opposite direction. So I'm nice and tall, nice and elongated, letting the hips kind of drive the movement. This kind of works for our beginners and our advanced, so you just get a nice easy glide with it. Don't need to go over aggressive. After that, we're gonna go into a little bit of a sideways lunge movement. So we're gonna keep the club out in front of us and we're gonna sidestep and shift and then come back. We're gonna go back to the opposite side and just go back and forth. So this is a little bit more of our advanced movement. If you wanted to go a little bit easier, one of the things you can do is you can put the club down in front of you, go with a little bit of a wider stance, and just shift your hips out of it. So now you got the club for some support. You can just go back and forth in each direction. So it's just a nice easy movement. You can kind of see that I'm loading onto this leg. The opposite side is straight. We get a little bit of a stretch into that as well. So that would be the beginner version of that one. Lastly, we're gonna work on a little bit of a sideways lunge with a lift. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate and raise the club up and then back down. I'm kind of pointing the toes away from me on the front foot, and on the back leg, you can kind of see that the heel is rolling up a little bit as I stay tall on the front. Just like everything, we're gonna go in both directions with this, and I'm trying to get a nice good stretch. This is again a little bit more advanced movement. If I want to go a little bit easier, I can kind of put myself in that direction already and take the step out of it and get a little bit of an easier glide. If you have trouble opening up the hip, you can always just kind of get into a little bit of a wide stride and shift and rotate and do a little bit of a smaller arm raise. But again, if you don't feel comfortable with one, don't go ahead and do it. You can always ask questions with one of the therapists. This is the beginning of our dynamic warm-up, which is going to be followed by our static warm-up.